Hello students, welcome to the program. The theme for today's program is Application of Educational Psychology in Teaching Learning and in Understanding Individuals' Behavior. The objectives set for the lecture are to understand the concept of educational psychology and how it helps in understanding human behavior, to understand how educational psychology helps a teacher, to understand how educational psychology affects other aspects of teaching learning process. Dear students, first we will discuss educational psychology. J.B. Watson, the founder of behaviorism, has said, quote, "Give me a dozen healthy infants, well informed, and my own special world to bring them up in, and I will guarantee to take anyone at random and train him to become any type of specialist. I might select doctor, lawyer, artist, so on." Unquote. Educational psychology consists of two words, psychology and education. Educational psychology is the study of the learner, learning and teaching. In some more comprehensive way, it is the study of the ways in which the learner can most effectively be brought into successful interaction with the material to be learned, the learning situation, and the teacher who provides the learning opportunity. In psychology, the scope of study and the fields of operation are extended to cover the behavior of all living organisms related to all their life activities, whereas in educational psychology, the scope of such behavioral study has to be limited within the confines of the teaching learning process. That is, studying the behavior of the learner in relation to their educational environment, specifically for the satisfaction of their educational needs and the all-round development of their personality. Therefore, the subject matter of educational psychology must be centered on the process of teaching and learning for enabling the teacher and learners to do their jobs as satisfactorily as possible. B.F. Skinner defines educational psychology as that branch of psychology which deals with teaching and learning. Educational psychology is the science of education as per Peale. Educational psychology is one of the branches of applied psychology concerned with the application of the principles, techniques, and other resources of psychology to the solution of the problems confronting the teacher, attempting to direct the growth of children towards defined objectives. More specifically, we can say educational psychology is concerned with an understanding of, first, the child, his development, his needs and his potentialities. Second, the learning situation, including group dynamics as they affect learning. And third, the learning process, its nature and the ways to make it effective. Stated differently, the central theme of educational psychology is psychology of learning. It seems too simple to say that educational psychology is the psychology of learning and teaching, and yet a majority of educational psychologists spend their time studying ways to describe and improve learning and teaching. After reviewing the historical literature in educational psychology includes topics that span human development, individual differences, measurement, learning, and motivation, and is both a data-driven and a theory-driven discipline. Today, educational psychology is a vital discipline that is contributing to the education of teachers and learners. For example, Jerome Bruner, an enduring figure in educational psychology, recently noted the need to rethink our ideas of development, teaching, and learning, and the interaction among them. Specifically, Bruner in 1996 urged educators and psychologists to see children and as thinkers and stated, quote, "No less than the adult, the child is thought of as holding more or less coherent theories, not only about the world, but about her own mind and how it works. These naive theories are brought into congruence with those of parents and teachers, not through imitation, not through didactic instructions, but by discourse, collaboration, and negotiation. This model of education is more concerned with interpretation and understanding than with the achievement of factual knowledge or skilled performance." Unquote. The subject of matter of educational psychology thus covers the topics helpful in suggesting principles, methods, and techniques for the selection of learning experiences appropriate to each developmental stage of the children. As a result, its study involves the topics like psychology of learning, motivation of learning, factors affecting learning, transfer of learning or training, sensation, perception, concept formation, interest formation, attitude formation, thinking, reasoning, and problem-solving behavior, etc. The educative process includes the 5 major areas of education, that is, teacher, learner, learning process, learning environment, and learning resources. Dear students, how educational psychology helps in improving these 5 areas can be discussed one by one as: number first, the teacher. Teacher's role is very crucial in the task of behavioral modification and personality development of number of children studying in a class. Much depends on the competency and capability of the teacher for carrying out the desired task. A teacher acts as a philosopher and a guide to the students. He must know the growth and development of the child and his requirements at different levels. Educational psychology helps the teacher to study the ability, interests, intelligence, needs, and adopts different techniques of teaching for effective communication. The utility of educational psychology for the teachers has been emphasized in both theory and practices of teaching and learning. As per Gage and Berliner in 1999, quote, "Educational psychology serves as a foundation discipline in education in the same way that physical science serves engineering." Unquote. Educational psychology emphasizes the need of knowing the self for a teacher to play his role properly in the process of education. It throws light on the essential personality traits, interests, aptitudes, the characteristics of effective teaching, etc., so as to inspire and help teacher handle the stress, conflict, and anxiety by giving insight in their own personality. Some aspects which have been included in the text of educational psychology are personality traits and characteristics of good teachers, then duties and responsibilities of a teacher, then measures for knowing and doing away with personal conflicts, anxiety, and tension. Then, teachers' motivation, level of aspiration, adjustment, and mental health. The importance of educational psychology for a teacher can be divided into two aspects, that is, to study teaching and learning situation, and then the application of teaching and learning principles. First, we'll discuss about how to study teaching and learning situation. Here, we first discuss about individual difference. A teacher has to deal carefully with a group of students in the classroom situation. As there are wide variation in different abilities among the students, therefore, it is very essential to understand the individual difference of the student regarding their ability, interest, attitude, and need at different levels of growth and development. Then comes awareness of effective methods of teaching. The method of teaching is based on the developmental characteristic of the students. For example, history is taught effectively to small children with the help of storytelling method because small children like stories, and storytelling is the best method of teaching for the students of that age group. Then we'll discuss about curriculum development. The course of study of particular degree or diploma is prepared by teachers. Knowledge of psychology is helpful in developing curricula of different levels of students in different subjects. The developmental characteristics and needs of the students are also taken into account in the formulation of curriculum. Then next is to study mental health of students. In the process of teaching and learning activities in the classroom, mental health of the teacher and the taught plays significant role as the mental condition influences directly the achievement of the students. And then guidance to the students. A teacher has to play different roles in school as guide, as philosopher and leader. Guidance is a type of assistance to the students to solve their problems by themselves. The knowledge of psychology enables the teacher to provide necessary educational and vocational guidance to the students of different age groups. Then, measuring learning outcomes. Teacher has to perform two important activities in classroom, teaching and testing. The testing activities help in measuring learning outcomes of the students to judge their improvement and effectiveness of teaching learning process. Then, teaching situation. Educational psychology suggests the techniques of teaching. It also helps in deciding what learning situation should be provided by teacher to learner according to his mental and physical age, his previous knowledge and interest level. By describing the learner's characteristics, what teacher's aids are appropriate for the particular subject. Then, dear students, the application of teaching learning principles. First, the objectives of education. Education is a purposive attempt to bring about desirable change in the student's behavior. The objectives of education are realized in terms of behavioral change among the students. Teachers have to create the learning conditions to provide knowledge and experiences to the student for the change of behavior. Then comes the preparation of timetable. The classroom teaching of various subjects is organized by perfectly arranged timetable. Knowledge of preparation of timetable needs psychology. Democratic administration. The school and classroom administration should also be impartial and democratic. It should provide freedom of expression to the student to explore their innate power. The students' problems are to be solved sympathetically through mutual discussion and understanding. Then second aspect is the learner. This is the most important of the three elements, not only because students are more important than process or situation, but primarily because without the learner there is no teaching. The word learner is used for the person who individually or collectively comprise the class and on whose behalf educational programs exist and operate. Educational psychology acquaints a teacher with the knowledge, including the innate abilities and capabilities of the individual differences and their measurements, the overt, the covert, conscious as well as unconscious behavior of the learner, the characteristics of his growth and development. Factors considered when a teacher focuses on learners include family background, prior knowledge, motivation, developmental level, interests, attitude. All these factors influence how learners acquire knowledge. Before the learner is taught, his individuality and personality should be known. Therefore, topics which will be helpful in exploring the individual's life and should be included are: number one, learner's instincts and other innate abilities. Then the learned and acquired abilities. Then individual differences in terms of abilities, their interests, aptitudes, attitudes, intelligence and creativity. And lastly, mental health and personality. The third aspect of the process is learning process. The learning process refers to the process by which people change their behavior, improve performance, reorganize their thinking, or become familiar with new concepts and information. Hence, educational psychology deals with the nature of learning and how it takes place. Important aspects of this element include: when people learn, the changes in their behavior may not be directly observed. Perceiving, thinking, remembering, and identifying. Or it may be observed, like writing, attending, and talking. Then, learning is an ongoing process that begins at birth and continues in some form or another until one dies. Then, learning can be explained in terms of what happens when student learns, why and how they learn, what teachers want them to learn, and why they learn what teachers do not want them to learn. Some of the focus areas involved in learning process are: first, to know the classroom teaching learning process. A well-developed theory of classroom teaching and learning is helpful for transacting the content to the student effectively, which includes classroom climate and the teaching competence, which are required for effective communication and presentation of the content. A teacher must know the appropriate principles of teaching learning, different approaches of teaching for better results of teaching learning process. Second, the learning situation. The learning situation refers to the environment where learners find themselves, where the learning process takes place, and also deals with the environmental factors, that learning situation which comes midway between the learner and the teacher. So topics like classroom climate, group dynamics, teaching techniques, aids facilitating learning, evaluation techniques, guidance and counseling, etc., which help in the smooth functioning of teaching learning process are studied. Third is evaluation of learning performance. Main objective of education is all-round development of learner. It includes cognitive, affective, and psychomotor aspects of personality. Causes for poor performance, backwardness in any aspect of development are corrected. Maladjusted children are helped by guidance and counseling, etc., so that the learner is helped to overcome the difficulties. Another aspect is the learning environment. Educational psychology plays its role in deciding the environmental situation that is suitable for a particular piece of instruction or the sharing of a learning experience. The effectiveness of a teaching learning program depends largely on the suitability of the teaching learning situation in terms of time, place, and other environmental factors. Educational psychology helps in taking into account first the classroom climate, then institutional organizational climate, then group behavior and group dynamics, then role of rewards and punishment, then guidance and counseling. Then we'll study about learning resources. Educational psychology helps in deciding what learning resources are desirable at what stage of growth and development of the learner, so that these experiences can be acquired with a greater ease and satisfaction. Educational psychology helps in taking into account the organization of resource materials like print media, books, newspapers, magazines, then audiovisual like television, films, then multimedia like computers, online or offline, then museum, visits, exhibitions, etc. Learning resources can be discussed under two headings as number first, use of audio-visual aids in teaching. The teacher can take the help of scientific devices. The topic of presentation in the classroom can be made interesting by involving more student participation. Television is a more popular device as compared to radio because television provides both audio and visual experiences. Many difficult concepts can be made easy and interesting by the use of audio-visual teaching aids. Then second is the co-curricular activities. The curricular exercise develops only cognitive aspect of child. Therefore, other activities like games, sports, scouting, debates, and cultural programs are essential, along with curricular activities for wholesome development of the child. Dear students, we then conclude. Educational psychology is important in the teaching learning process because it helps in understanding how learning process can be effectively guided by taking into account the special circumstances of the student's setting. It also determines how teaching can be made more effective, how educational goals can be made more meaningful, and how desirable educational goals can be achieved. Educational psychology guides or indicates how children can receive social learning and how they should be challenged to perform social services that may develop their community. The knowledge of evaluation and influence of curriculum change, which may be needed to make learning more relevant to the curricular settings, are also provided by educational psychology. Dear students, I hope you have understood about the application of educational psychology. I hope you have enjoyed the program. Thanks for watching.